environment of the world is in turmoil due to extensive gradation of land and forest resources. Land use and management is key to harmonizing development process and natural environment. Instead, land use planning pursued in many countries is aiding overexploitation of natural resources and in the process the wrath of natural hazards. According to UN estimates, 8 out of 12 mega disasters that happened between 2000 and 2010 happened in Asia, where 800,000 hectares of forest are lost every year. Philippines in particular lost a third of its forest cover in the last 2 decades due to poor land use planning and management, and as a result faces increasing intensity of disaster losses. On November 8, 2013, Typhoon Haiyan, locally named Yolanda, hit central Philippines with devastating effect to both lives and properties. When the strongest recorded typhoon in history made the first landfall in eastern Visayas, it caused unimaginable destruction which caught the attention of international community. Biliran province and its municipalities are among the most affected by Typhoon Yolanda. With no power supply and totally cut off from Leyte mainland due to impassable roads and no communication lines from the outside, economic activities stopped. People were just surviving, salvaging anything to answer basic needs, food, shelter, and clothing in daily routines. That is on top of the torturing reality that their relatives might have perished during the onslaught. The municipality of Biliran is one of the 8 local government units comprising the island province of Biliran. Located in the northern tip of Leyte Island, it is endowed with flowing spring waters, fertile lands, bountiful sea, and rich flora and fauna.
The United Nations system, right after the request of the Philippine government, activated the level 3 emergency mode for the Typhoon Haiyan crisis. So that means many of the international organizations and many of the United Nations system agencies will be mobilized to help the Philippine government in post-disaster response and recovery. The CLUP, which is the Comprehensive Land Use Plan, is one of the major development plans of any local government unit. So basically, it's just one of the plans. There are other development plans like the Comprehensive Development Plan and the Municipal Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Plan. These are all part of the technical assistance that we tried to tackle, including especially in the mainstreaming of disaster risk reduction and climate change adaptation into the local development plans. The CLUP is not specifically the only plan that is being made by the LGUs. There are other plans, the Comprehensive Development Plan especially, but also the local disaster risk reduction and management plan also. There was a conduct a barangay level land use planning workshop in the municipality of Biliran as part of the community-based DRRM approach of UNDP in Biliran. The barangay land use planning workshop is designed to identify the hazard-prone areas of the municipality up to the barangay level or the community level. So there are 11 barangays in Biliran. So 11 workshops on barangay land use planning were conducted in order for the local government to know and validate previous knowledge about the hazard-prone areas in each of the barangays This knowledge that will be generated will be, and in fact have been translated into hazard maps. These hazard maps will then contribute to the local development planning processes, especially in the municipal disaster risk reduction and management planning, and in the comprehensive land use planning, and in the comprehensive development planning of the municipality of Biliran.
Capacity building of communities in risk-sensitive areas. Use planning as a pilot in selected barangays in Biliran Municipality.
Data gathering, assessment and analysis of the data, treatment, monitoring and evaluation, and the implementation, meaning the overall cycle of project program management. People must be part of it. That's why even the local government units, our partners here, also committed that this approach would be critical in preparing comprehensive land use plan before it will be passed as an ordinance as basis also of a comprehensive development plan. Meaning to say, there is a big shift in terms of perspective that a successful plan would actually come from the idea, the actual experiences and proposals coming from the community. Now, what we did for the land use mapping, basically, the objective there is to consolidate the various experiences of the people, the various knowledge that they acquire from previous disasters. And from this experience, we'll be able to analyze the various hazards or the various disasters that happen in their community. And of course, identify issues and concerns related to land use and maybe practices. Well, in land use, people are maybe conscious of the plan, or the land use plan. If people have recommendations in terms of mitigations or structural mitigations, or maybe recommendations related to the future land use and maybe practices also. So in this series of community workshops, we targeted all the 11 barangays of Biliran as the pilot municipality. And the first step was to familiarize the community on their maps. Map is a big, help in terms of visualizing their community. So in these workshops, people will assess the previous disaster. And that's why the role of the elderly are very important in this workshop. Then assess the impact of these previous disasters. Then they will also assess on how the predictability in terms of information, how they receive, if they were able to access information related to the hazards or the warning, then the scope of the impact in terms of the community. And based on that assessment, they will use that assessment in plotting where in the community those hazards actually were in the community. For instance, flood affected their community or their scope. Then the second step in the land use mapping is to identify various hazards that would probably affect, potentially will occur. That's why these various hazards are being analyzed in terms of probability, in terms of predictability, and some actually identify factors that would maybe enhance, or factors that would probably the triggering factors that this kind of hazard will really hit their community. Then, of course, some of the mitigating factors also so are also being asked from the community. Then the last would be the recommendations in terms of land uses. So based on these hazards or their analysis of the various hazards, people are actually being asked on what are the recommendations in terms of future land uses. Then maybe recommendations also in terms of what possible mitigating structures would they will recommend to the municipality, or any mitigating structures that would reduce the impact of potential hazards in the area. So that's basically the land use mapping, and the results of this will be forwarded to the municipal government for consolidation in preparation for the comprehensive land use plan. Of course, it do not actually ends here. The maps that will be produced by the provincial government will be still validated by the community in terms of the information are properly plotted in the map. Then until the final recommendations will be considered in the final map. So the critical portion of this process is basically how the municipal government will consolidate all this and assess and finalize what would be the appropriate land use in the future.
Small group workshops and plenary discussions were the methods used in collecting and analyzing data. Each session of land use mapping and planning orientations and workshops in 11 different barangays lasted for 7 hours. Participants from different sectors of society, usually numbering 30, are always into an interactive discussions, be it in plenary or in group activities. Independent in nature, the group rates the magnitude, duration, devastation, predictability, and speed of the 4 identified hazards that have affected the populace. In all 11 barangays, tropical cyclones with Typhoon Haiyan on the helm tops the list with high rating of 9 in the magnitude department, meaning the area affected is wide and the devastation is severe. Winds can break houses and similar structures, including pipelines, electric transmission lines, communication towers, irrigation systems, trees, and livelihood sources, and it usually lasted from 2 to 24 hours. The hazards contributing factors include climate change, illegal cutting of trees, lacking disaster preparedness, and non-typhoon resilient houses. Floods, landslides, and drought wrap up the rest. In tackling future hazards, the participants focus their analysis on the predictability, probability, and possible speed, exacerbating and mitigating factors using the same rating range of 0 to 10. Tropical cyclone, flood, storm surge, drought, earthquake, landslide are the identified hazards depending on the location of a certain barangay. Recommendations to mitigate the hazards include the construction of infrastructures, farm-to-market roads, development of waterfalls and springs into tourist attractions.
No, but we have supported this activity on the request from local municipalities, UNDP and DILG and PDRRMO from the perspective of risk, number one, and from the perspective of providing community voice into the risk management, in the community voice in the land use management plans. You know, the problem is most of the land use plans developed in most of the countries, including Philippines, are developed purely from the perspective of the planners and representing majorly the interests of some influential groups who have access to them. The influential groups can be corporates, the industries, big agricultural landholders, business people and all that. Of course, their perspectives are important. I am not saying that they are less important. They are also important. But one of the most important stakeholders in this process is totally ignored. That is the communities, the common people. Because the common people's perspectives are ignored, most of the land use plans, instead of reducing inefficiency in land use planning, instead of reducing the inefficiency, they actually increase the inefficiency because community voices are not there. The second, instead of addressing the local needs in terms of land use, they actually go against the local needs because the community perspectives are not there. Third, instead of reducing risk for communities and the local environment, they actually increase the risk for communities and the local environment because the local communities' perspectives are not there. So therefore, we saw a huge value in providing community voice in land use planning and making this whole land use planning from risk perspective. If there is no risk perspective in the land use planning, risk is imposed. So we wanted to mitigate that.
The data generated from the community level workshops will be used in the local government, DRRM, and disaster contingency planning by Biliran Municipality. Acknowledging the beneficial impact of UNDP's approach in people's empowerment, the Department of Interior and Local Government, Biliran Provincial Office, actively participated in all of the activities.
At the DILG, we developed the guidebook for the rationalized planning system because for the longest time we have observed that the LGU has come up with so many different plans, and in the rationalized planning system we're saying that we are supposed to harmonize all the plans into one prescribed with the local government code, which requires the LGU to come up with two major plans. One is the comprehensive land use plan, two is the comprehensive development plan. Both plans are necessary for the LGU to manage its geographical territory, and the other plan is for the LGU to promote the general welfare of its constituents. So this guidebook is by the DILG saying that we only need to come up with these comprehensive plans so that all the plans, other plans are to be embodied in these two major plans. So the DILG is to provide like technical assistance to the local government units in building capacities in the planning process. And now for the DILG, now for the province of Biliran, we are into partnering with the UNDP, the MSP, the PDRM, the PDRMO to mainstream the major concern of the day, which is the DRMCCA, into these planning processes, and most especially into this comprehensive land use development.
The tools, the instruments given by UNDP as well as the MSP provide us the necessary informations, the tools in capacitating the province, the province as well as the municipalities and their preparedness efforts, especially now. Typhoons are becoming stronger. We cannot detect the occurrence of earthquakes. But this, if we can prepare hazard maps, then we can say that we are at least ready for any natural occurrences.
Land use mapping has that big effect to my hometown because there you are, you can identify which project and where to put the projects and what are the needed of the people of Biliran. UNDP partnership that we had is, of course, I really admire the UNDP. Since then, we started, after the Yolanda, they were already there to help us.
The awareness brought about by the workshops and other related activities are now inculcated in the minds of the people, thus making them more responsive and interested in participating in future resilient undertakings.